When it comes to Harley Quinn, she has an interesting history. A lot of it stems from Joker. Believe it or not, there was actually somebody that actually loved the Joker, even bathing in chemicals and such. And they kind of quite literally formed a toxic, pun intended, type of relationship. Doggone it, Harley. DC likes to reboot their continuity a lot in the New 52 era. Comics imply that New 52 rebirth are all one now and stuff, so I'm just going to say all this. Harleen Quinzel grew up in a little neighborhood in Brooklyn. Oldest of 4 kids, 3 brothers. The only girl, she was the oldest though. Standard childhood, majority of her life she was considered misunderstood. She ended up getting her first crush. Her first love ended up going to jail. Her first crush, he ended up being stabbed to death. She was wondering why he stopped sending her letters and stuff. She received a bunch of scholarships to Gotham University. She won a gymnast scholarship to the Gotham State University. She didn't want nothing to do with none of that stuff and just went straight into work. Graduated at the top of her class. She noticed that there was always something that had her interest, the criminal mind. The patients at Arkham Asylum were considered broken and unfixable. But to me, that was just a big fat challenge, so she dug in. She studied, tried to figure out the problem. She wanted to blend in. She had to change her appearance so she can become one of them. That's what she met the Joker, and the Joker pretty much turned her out to where she was just going in there as an experiment, but it ended up backfiring to where she ended up just turning into a villain herself. Interesting turn of events. From first glance, it's hard to take characters like Harley Quinn seriously because she's known to be like the sidekick of another top tier character that's pretty famous of being like the Joker, but she actually can fight, and she's more threatening than meets the eye. She's even went through a fair share of character development throughout her career. There's this reoccurring theme in comics where just because a character has no superpowers, that doesn't necessarily mean they don't have superhuman feats. Think of the humans in DC like the characters from Baki anime. They're normal humans, but they can train their way up to superhuman levels thanks to hard work and dedication. She had a Jewish mother. Aside from being a consistent sidekick for characters like Joker, there's been times where she kind of separated from Joker, branched off and did her own thing, chilling with characters like Poison Ivy at times. She even kisses Green Lantern. Over the years, she uses a multitude of different weapons, whether it be bats, pistols, or whatever she sees fit. When it comes to gadgets, she's used shurikens, and it even has accuracy and marksmanship, one could say, with this stuff. That's pretty evident. Even when men have guns and she's tied to a chair, thanks to the different gear and equipment she has, cut herself out of these ropes. Yeah, she can handle herself. She seems to like using guns a lot though. Do you respect her marksmanship yet? Yeah, how she be getting out of these particular situations. Strange gadgets like this that punch through walls. One of her most overpowered pieces of gear is this hammer like this in newer stuff, this apocalyptic hammer. Out of all the weapons Harley Quinn can use, she seems to favor a hammer. She was actually in contact with characters like Granny Goodness from Apocalypse that wanted her to be a female Fury, you know, one of the female warriors because she can fight. Wonderful weapon made for Harley. But to get there, she got to take on a whole bunch of fearsome parademons. Look at all this. You can use all the weapons you want from my Maniac Menagerie to get up there. So she fought her way up there and got her hands on this weapon to get this overpowered hammer. In these comics, for example, is anybody else other than me getting Deadpool kind of vibes? Her using her hammer and the way these comics are played out? Like, it's hard to take it seriously. But you know how these things go. Of course, she can't keep such an overpowered weapon that can one-shot everything. She gotta eventually go back to somewhat normalcy a little bit, right? Even though she loves this hammer. So she ends up losing this hammer, tried to attack Granny Goodness, but it didn't work because Granny Goodness is too durable, getting locked up, and all that fun stuff. She has pogo sticks, apparently with rockets. Okay. When it comes to equipment, she be making her own chemical concoctions. You know how Joker be doing it, like in my Joker video. One of the many concoctions being sleeping gas. Even making metahumans sleepy from her sleeping gas that she can concoct. She got some equipment. There was even a part in her career where she legit got powers thanks to her hanging out with Poison Ivy a lot. She legit eventually got powers to enhance her statistics. Immunity to toxins seems pretty believable. She doesn't give a crap. Even crime people like Penguin, she will stick and make you bleed. If you're wondering how she's able to block strikes from Batman, part of this is thanks to literally Poison Ivy giving her resistance to toxins, and natural strength and agility is also increased. Yeah, notice how she uses big hammers like this to hit Batman while he's not paying attention. Something this big, she shouldn't be able to swing around this light. And when it comes to Joker, she might actually have the fighting speed advantage, or pure agility advantage, one could say. There's always times where like lower tier characters like stagger like a top tier. It's something you can't take too seriously because we know Harley Quinn can't bust no planet, but she was able to whack Big Barda, a planet buster level being plus, which is silly. Doesn't mind using 2 guns at once. Heck, she's even gotten in scuffles with Two-Face. and literally body slam Two-Face. Ain't that funny? And just because you're Black Mask doesn't mean she won't hammer you. Even beings that get the drop on him when they have the gun up this close to him, she's fast enough to move, knock the gun out of his hand before he even has time to pull the trigger, even though the gun is this close to her, showing her fighting speed. Her and Joker have a very toxic relationship. In this little jacket, she's still able to give Joker some beating, which I find very freaking interesting. We're not going to talk about how she was strong enough to rip a palm tree out of its roots. Definitely normal. And send beings flying that far. This is like almost on some gaggy type stuff. She used it as a hammer and holding it like it's no big deal. A tree that has to weigh over 400, 500 plus pounds. She's doing this like this is nowhere near her limit. One of her best physical feats of all time is when she got in an extended entanglement with Killer Croc. I would say Killer Croc still had the strength advantage, so she had to use other methods like picking up stuff in the environment, bowling balls, using her agility. Because she lacked the strength, she did all this stuff in conjunction with one another. See out on bowling balls using the environment to her advantage. Outcome is pretty realistic how she got handled and even went sleep time for a second. She wakes up and she's still in the clutches of Killer Croc. Makes him off balance by kissing him, jumping off, using bowling pins as weapons, even sharpening them. Smart strategy for her because she knows she just can't fight him in a straight up normal slugfest, right? Using her agility and everything in advantage to one another. Notice how she's getting hit by Croc. She's not instantly being knocked out. Bag over his face. She gets hit through this stuff, durability wise. Can you imagine being hit over and over again with a solid bowling ball, which Harley is doing? I know she was using weapons to get the W like this, but I don't give a crap. Killer Croc is a freaking beast. She's kind of like them super soldiers in DC you see that can't really get hit with bullets. Look at the agility over the gate. How else will you explain occasions like this? She's actually using guns while using her agility, flipping around while aiming. She be getting bucked with Batman too. You know she owns some stuff. She handshakes a grown man and brings him to his knees with her grip strength. I know the artist isn't necessarily looking at physics when they draw in these panels, but dude, how do you throw somebody like he don't weigh like at least 160 pounds that far? Like, bruh, you know that's strength. It's another occasion of her fighting speed, the gun pointed at her. It still gets evaded, blitzing them in the process. She has a very fast healing factor versus normal humans. Thanks to Poison Ivy, her healing factor is way better. Healed from all of this mess. Like, you see that? And look at it now. Seriously, why do these people even try to shoot her, man? Batman seems to have some issues hitting her at some time. She has to be really agile to get in this many scuffles with Batman. Even if Batman is indeed holding back, which I agree with, this is still impressive. Because after all, you can still hold back and still be trying to fight somebody. Like, bruh, this is crazy. The whole Bat family literally have a history of dodging bullets, and she's able to evade these attacks. One can say her pain tolerance is partially due to her insanity. She's been hit by this big mallet. She totally bounced back like it's no big deal. Parrying and getting in plenty of scuffles with Batman, even though I would say Batman has the advantage in pure skills and fighting ability, she's enough to be an annoyance to Batman himself. Super soldier type characters like Cassandra Cain and Robin, something you have to freaking respect. Two Bat family members at the same time is definitely respectable. That ain't Harley Quinn fighting him, that's Batgirl fighting him. Well, that's because she dressed up in this particular panel. Ha! Epic fight. Look at them two falling. But thanks to agility, landing safely is no problem. Busted, Harley Quinn. But it's definitely implications she cannot beat all three of these Bat family members with Nightwing especially joined in. Whether it be alien or not, she chokes out beings. She shows competence with, headlock, punching power, night. More scuffles with Batman in the Fortnite crossover event. Even managed to knee him. In this Fortnite event, Harley Quinn has no problem fighting waves and waves of different things. Harley Quinn just be soloing. Can't you respect that, even fighting Catwoman, scuffling with both Batman and Catwoman? None of my business, though. In this particular case, it ends up going night, however. Dang, Harley, that's cheating. She's not afraid of playing dirty, like catching you off guard, like knocking dead shot out here. Don't want to sound like a broken record, but Harley Quinn being like a superhuman basically in DC, Cassandra Cain, a being that can look at bullets while they're mid-flight. She was able to combat and keep up with these level beings in combat. Yes, I know it's hard to believe if you're not used to this type of thing. Just like other super soldier tiers in DC, she can fight faster than bullets. Ha! This video wouldn't be complete without, say it with me, temporary power of something a lot of characters get. They get the power and then lose the power after the story's over. It was one of those things where she temporarily got the yellow ring, became like a powerhouse tier for a split second. Imagine her with the yellow lantern ring on, but that's none of my business. Shining ring for Harley Quinn. Imagine Harley Quinn simply minding her business and stuff with rollerblades, ends up getting her own red lantern ring, getting the powers of flight and just having a ball with them. Making her own energy constructs like a drill, picking up cars with her constructs and spinning them around, or just launching the cars. She just too much power for you, Harley. You know she's in the powerhouse ranges when characters like Green Lantern in this newer comic, of course, having issues with her. All these different strange looking attacks. Green Lantern has to fight against and counter. She's extra durable, getting hit to space, attacking Lantern here, making her own jet. Green Lantern versus Red Lantern arm wrestle. Are you kidding? And it seems to be a struggle even for Green Lantern, showing she's officially a powerhouse right here. Yeah, she's powerful. She ended up losing the ring, obviously. Ring influenced her to the point where she didn't know what she was doing when she was doing all that crazy stuff fighting Green Lantern. In the same comic, she ends up getting a Green Lantern ring as well to save the day. She can make giant hammers like that. There's no way she can stay a Green Lantern level being. Temporary powers aside, she's gotten entanglements with Deadshot, Catwoman. After seeing all this stuff, seeing Harley and Catwoman be able to take on a whole bunch of gorillas, no, this is not a super pill. I know this is not the same one as a comic book when Injustice is a totally different universe, but the concept is still the same. Canon comic book, Harley could do something like this. Hitting combos on gorillas. This is totally realistic, and no, they're not using the super pill in this particular scene. They're just that strong because human logic, right? DC human logic. But what do you guys think? Do you think it's bullcrap that Harley Quinn is this strong? Hey, we got to give Poison Ivy a round of applause for getting her back into health. Lifting that tree up was ridiculous. But I also want to say, when it comes to the power hierarchy, compared to other fighters in DC that are in this street-ish or peak human super soldier-ish range, how does Harley compare to beings like this? I would say characters like Batman have a decent gap in their strength still compared to Harley's, but she's not like a flea in comparison. Like if 3 Harleys was the type of fight Batman, Batman might actually lose. But one-on-one, I would say Batman wins like 10 out of 10 times. But it doesn't mean she's a weakling. Like if an average old martial arts fighter came up to her, they would still get bodied. But that's none of my business. But I also have to give a quick shout out to everybody that has took time to donate to the channel. Helps out a lot. Believe it or not, respect Harley Quinn.